Grassroots advocacy. How important is grassroots advocacy? When school administrators travel to Albany to meet with legislators, how much of an impact does that make? In addition, how much of an impact do calls and emails to legislators' offices mean? Senator.
It's a major impact. You have to be able to let your legislators know personally and do the touches, and also you can engage your parents. It creates three opportunities, really. You have your parents that are more involved, more engaged, and they're willing to call up your legislator and say, if you don't do this, I'm not going to vote for you. This is my address, this is where I live, and I'm a triple prime voter. That makes an impact. Coming to Albany and you know, those of you that looked at the tape at Albany yesterday, we had 1,000 anti-vaxxers that were lining the hall. You know, they made an impact. Wasn't a good impact, but they made an impact. You know, but it's important to let the entire legislative body know exactly what's going on, and it's also you know, to show up at meetings when the agencies are putting out opportunities for RFPs or during the budget hearings. It makes a major impact. And we have to also, again, inform all of the legislators, not just us, Stacey and I, who have been well informed by this group here, and will continue to lean into you and lean on you. But it's important that your voices are heard, not just in a private level, but in a citywide level. You know, that, as you alluded to earlier, we have people that consider themselves progressive that want to come up with new educational ideas or new ideas about this and new ideas about that, and they're dominating the media. We need to stop that. We need to now dominate the media with your message. We need to be able to learn how to make sure that the local media and the citywide and statewide media are understanding that there's a real message of working people, working families, families that want to have their children taught in a certain way, that's the dominant phase, not just something that some kid just graduated from some school with a master's in education, and now they want to change the world and impose their new ideas that they learned from some idiot, some professor that they want to now impose on the rest of us. You know, I have this little thing where I'm like, it's you know, we have a young person that's under 25, weighs less than 20 pounds, and they want to change the world because they just got out of graduate school. We have to push back on that. There's the education that is working, there's a system that's in place. You don't just change it on a whim, and then you don't go run to the media and proclaim this new wave is the only way to do things, when there's a way that has been working for centuries and has trained the people that are in this room, and you want to see your children trained that way. As I said in the beginning, my job as a legislator is to make sure that cultures are respected, especially in New York State, which is the state that is supposed to embrace families, embrace cultures, embrace the new immigrants, and allow people to live their life in a respectful manner, and allow you to train your families in the way that you want them trained so that they can understand your history, your culture, and your legacy. Thank you.
So I just want to, is it fair to say that if your office gets 100 emails on a particular issue, you're going to pay attention to that issue?
Most definitely.
Yeah.
And you know, we will make sure that they are responded to as much as possible. We do get flooded with things, but it makes an impact when you open up your email box and you see all these letters. And by the time you're looking at them and you get it by the time you're reading the 25th one. If you get into the 200th one, then you really understand it. You have to make that a part of your priority, because you're not going to be able to walk away from it. When you go to Main Street to shop, or when you're going to, you know, somewhere in your district, you're going to run into somebody that has that issue, because you know that they've taken the time to send an email about it.
Okay.
And I'm going to say that, you know, your voice matters, right? So a lot of people, and I don't want to judge anybody's busy, but folks will say, what does it matter if I make that phone call? Well, what if you don't make the phone call? How would I know how you're feeling? And then if it's 25 people, my office will say, I don't know what's going on, but we got 25 phone calls regarding, what was the other day? You know, we say it's anti-vaxxing, whatever. And then the phone calls come, then we're paying attention. Is there a bill? Did the governor make an announcement? What happened? And then you sort of look into that issue to find out what's going on and how it's affecting your community. But I will tell you, when any group that comes up to Albany, or even if it's in downstate, and we meet, one of the first things I'll say, well, how many of my district is affected by that? And most groups will have a number and say, there's 100 people in your community that uses a community-based school, blah, 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 blah. wow, really? Helps me bring an issue forward. So you have to let your legislator know what matters to you, because then you make that decision on election day if that's really working for you. And I'm not saying that very arrogantly, but you have to let them know how you feel. We can't just sit here and think what we know. We should be told, because that's what drives my legislation. So I do have a community, a large Orthodox community, and how that feels. But I said to some of my legislators, do you even know how many Jewish families are in your community? Because you might be surprised, right? And then, but how would he or she know if no one's making that phone call to them? So I think grassroots advocacy is one of the best tools that we have, that we can bring what's regularly going on a daily basis to a legislator. And I think that, one, you do it well, because you always bring up a group of people to Albany, and people get to meet their legislator. But then again, you can have a phone chain and call different legislators and let them know what an important issue is that's going on in the state.